Introduction. B's story. It all started in March 2009 when I was working in sales at one of the security systems companies. Frankly speaking, during that year, I have not achieved any significant target, not even concluded any large-scale deal in sales. A whole year just passed without accomplishing any remarkable achievement. I was merely giving presentations, holding meetings and much more talking, but nothing solid in sales. I still remember that day when I was talking to a customer specifically, explaining to him how the security camera system will provide him with a complete system of control and monitoring for his corporate offices around the clock. I could see the end result of that meeting in his eyes. It was so obvious from his way of sitting in absolute silence, as if he was about to say, "Please stop and get out now. I know I was going to hear it at the end." It was great. You have a lot of distinguished features into the system. I'll pass this offer to my work team, and we will contact you when we decide. This was a polite way of saying, "Stop now, leave the room. We do not need to hear this nonsense." I sat in my car for more than an hour in complete silence. The time has stopped for me. I was disoriented, confused as if I was lost. Where am I? What is going on? Why is this happening to me? I was very exhausted of hundreds of meetings, presentations, and endless talking, none of which got me any closer to achieve one meaningful result. That meeting was the signal, the mark, and the flag that was fluttering high in my mind. Allah, you must stop. You are not so good at sales. You will never be a salesman, and you have to stop now and immediately. You are turning and spinning in a whirl. You have been unable to end even one deal. The problem is not in the market, the product. You're the cause. Forget it. You will not succeed. I began to become more and more convinced. That inner voice finally admits of my inability in sales. But another voice was always bringing me back to that circle that I am good at talking. I can speak for hours about a product, but why I was not able to conclude a deal. I decided to listen to logic, to withdraw, and apologize to the management. For this infertile year, I will be looking for another job in a field other than sales. I went back home, switched off my phone, and sat down to watch TV. A drowning man snatches to a twig. I sat for hours without moving, overwhelmed by a sense of loss, depression, failure, or whatever. I was moving between channels until I stopped at a documentary talking about the subconscious mind. I stopped there. I have been long attracted to this subject that I did not know much about. The guest psychologist was talking about the laws that control the subconscious. His idea was that the subconscious can see things we cannot observe with our own eyes. They go immediately to the subconscious, where they are stored. At the end of the program, he proved his idea via a strange test. If you feel thirsty now, what would you choose to drink? A glass of water or a glass of milk? In my mind, I said milk, though I am not a fan of milk. But the psychologist surprised me by saying that 80% of those who watched this program had chosen the same option, milk. Is it a coincidence? Of course not. The psychologist redisplayed some of the scenes in the episode, where there is a picture of a glass of milk in the background that was never clear in several scenes. In other scenes, you will see some unimportant people passing by, holding glasses of milk in their hands without attracting your attention. I have injected your brain with milk. This is precisely what the psychologist has said. Oh my God, what is this? Ideas start crossing my mind. Can I do it? What is the subconscious mind? Does it have a supernatural ability to control our bodies, qualities, and attributes? I began to feel the flow of adrenaline in my veins. Should I have seen that program another day, I would not be in this depressed situation, but it was my fate and destiny. Allah wanted this idea to lead me that way. I jumped immediately to the computer to start searching. The subconscious mind. I found a lot of information about the laws, abilities, and attributes of the subconscious mind that took me a long time to finish reading. The image that has changed my life. I kept on reading until it was 4 o'clock in the morning, when I was attracted by a figure containing a mathematical formula that has turned my life upside down. It was as follows. Human communication languages equals 65% occur in the subconscious mind, and 35% take place in the conscious mind. Oh my God! Look dazzled and astounded as if I have found the lost treasure. Finally, it is the truth. It is the solution. 65%. Most of our conversations take place in the subconscious mind. In fact, what we say does not weigh a lot. But when is this language? The language of the subconscious. From this point, my journey started in exploring this hidden language of the subconscious that we do not usually utter. This language contains thousands of pieces of information and techniques discovered by psychologists over decades. This mysterious secret language unknown to us represents 65% of our communication with others. I was surprised exactly as you are now. For example, the way you walk says 1,000 words about you to others, your smile, what you wear, etc. I became obsessed in the very sense of the word and searching to know more about this language, about the best way to understand and master it, about its characteristics, attributes, and secrets. Looking for a new piece of information in the books, the internet, videos, and pictures became my chief concern, ending in finding hundreds of hidden techniques and strategies that were used day after day by the masters of persuasion in the world. I found how major marketing companies spend billions annually on advertisement, using the language of the subconscious to convince us to buy their products. These billions were not spent in vain, because we still keep buying their products, drink what they want us to drink, to live a lifestyle they made for us, and we do not know what is happening to us. If any conversation with someone else occur, mostly in the unconscious or subconscious mind, definitely I have to talk to the subconscious and to know how it works. I could not stop collecting information on a daily basis. I loved this secret, science unknown to many of us. I even loved my notebook, writing down every piece of information I learned. Experiment #1. After almost 6 months of daily gathering information and writing down in the notebook, I decided to put some of the techniques on experiment. Unfortunately, I used this dangerous science in a negative way that I still regret doing that, and I hope you will not do the same. It all happened one day. I went to a cafe with a friend of mine, started talking, laughing, etc. A beautiful young lady was sitting on the opposite side. She was so charming that I could not refrain myself from looking at her. In fact, she was the kind of a beautiful and attractive woman who makes men like me get dazzled and astonished by just looking at her. But I do not know what pushed me and gave me that strange confidence, so I decided to approach her to test what I've learned. I stood up and began to approach her table, but calmly, as if I owned the place, and all I could think of now is alpha state strategy. I wanted to put it into place. That glamorous lady didn't give me any attention or even look at me. I kept walking towards her table calmly without averting my eyes from her, which makes her look at me continuously. At that moment, I did not hear anything around me or see anyone else, and the place was shrinking, and everything around me became black. I could not see other but her, kept moving until I got to the table and looked at her in the eyes as if she was the only woman sitting there. She was still amazed, and wanted to know who I am and what I want. I said quietly, "I could not stop looking at you. It is true that you wear formal clothes in a cafe and this a bit weird, but you have something special. I want to know what is it." Confusion code plus negative start. The poor lady was still surprised and amazed that she didn't know what I wanted and why I said that. I have learned through my life to appreciate beauty in some way, and that our lives as human beings totally change in less than a moment. It is very strange that most of these changes come when a new person you admire enters your life. Has this ever happened to you before? She was helpless, looking at me surprisingly as if I have fully bewitched and mesmerized her. She said with an attractive and spontaneous smile, "Certainly, I have long believed in this, although it did not happen to me personally. I believe that my life is going to change instantly once a strange person enters it." I got closer and closer and extended my hand to shake her hands. "I'm Al-Asadi. I'm going now to Dubai to have dinner with my friend in a wonderful restaurant near the beach, and decided to invite you and your friends to enjoy a different and sort of crazy trip to get out of the deadly routine during working days." She did not say a word, still amazed, but one of her friends said to me, "I have not ever seen any person as rude as you are. What makes you imagine that we will go with you on a trip outside the city though we do not even know who you are?" I smiled and told her. I said, "I am Al-Asadi." That beautiful lady smiled, and then I continued my sentence saying, "And that's exactly why we need to go on that trip, to get to know each other, as there is no better way than a trip to get acquainted with good people." I looked back at that charming lady and approached her while her friends were all in a state of admiration, smiling and wondering of what they call my impudence and rudeness. "Would you like me to give you a ride home to change your dress, or would you prefer to go with us in your formal dress?" My heart became chanting and warbling around the place, and I was hiding the largest amount of tension that ever happened to me in my life, beyond this external self-confidence and mysterious smile, until she told me, "You're the strangest person I've ever seen in my life, and I am wearing these as clothes because I have just finished my work." I smiled and said to her friend, "Can you see that she needs fun and joy? She is exhausted. We all need a change, so it is great. I'll finish my coffee, pay the bill, then start on our trip. Then I went back calmly to my table without looking back. Although I regret that my first experience was to persuade that lady to go out with me, but I think that trip was the best day of my life, even her life, the lives of her friends, and also my friend. I could not believe myself, neither the science nor the superhuman strength and the capability of that information that I have collected and compiled. I used what I have collected and compiled. I used what I have learned every day in every conversation at each meeting, and then I recorded what happened, what I have to do, and what mistakes I have made in order to avoid in the future until my notebook became like a juggler's or charlatan's book, full of amendments and notes. 4 years have passed now. I remembered all of this while I was standing in front of the mirror, at home getting ready for a party set up by my company in recognition and celebration of my new position as a business development manager in the Middle East and Africa. I always thank my God bestowing unto me that idea that has changed my life completely. Since then, I've decided to collect and compile that information and put it in a comprehensive guide that contains hundreds of strategies and techniques that I have collected, tested, and developed to master the art of persuasion and control human minds. I decided to make this guide as a practical guide explaining, gradually, step by step, all the secret codes you will use, how to master and implement them. You will find hundreds of hidden techniques that we never heard about, the secret language of the subconscious and how to speak it, as well as strategies ready for immediate use to get that big, yes, that you always have long dreamt of to get. Yes, I want to buy from you. Yes, I want to drink coffee with you. Yes, I want to grant you a leave at the weekend. Yes, I want to take you on a trip to Paris, etc. This guide is divided into 2 sections. We'll start with basic information that you need to know, understand, and memorize about the definition of the subconscious and conscious mind, and the difference between them, the human communication languages, as well as some basic characteristics that you have to possess to become an expert in persuasion and one of the masters of human control in the world, such as alpha state, instant confidence, and body language, and then get to know the secret codes one after the other till the end of the guide. But why are these codes secret? For 2 reasons. First, psychologists, marketing, and persuasion experts were the ones who invented and developed this science who deemed it necessary to keep this science secret to ensure its effectiveness, exactly as if you were doing a magic with play cards and you don't want to tell your friends how you do it, so as to keep them interested. This is exactly what are you going to do, as you will not tell the client, by the way you bought this phone, because I've used the instant report code while talking to you. Second, that these codes and strategies have an effective uncanny power and potential irresistible by the other party. Therefore, you have to be very careful not to hurt anyone when using these codes, since you have the key to people's minds and know how to control them. That is why we have to consider ethics of life, pay respect to others, and to commit ourselves to ensure that what we need will be in the interest of others as well as our interests. Of course, I will not be able to refrain or monitor you, but I can warn you not to use this knowledge or ability in harming others, and remember that Allah is overwatching you, and Allah is the witness between you and I. The secret code is the goal. Win/win for both parties. Phase number 1. Building. Phase unveil the hidden laws of persuasion art. Alpha state. Instant confidence engineering phase number 2. Preparation phase. The charisma code. Outcome-based thinking code. The secret handshake code. The internal space code. Phase number 3. Secret intelligence phase. The secret question code. The values code. Communication style code. The decision maker code. Phase number 4. Presentation phase. Instant report code. The wrong message code. The speaker code. Secret words code. The covered hypnosis code. The anchor code. Hidden messages code. Phase number 5. Closure phase. Internal resistance code. Closing code. A lot of people have ideas, but there are few who decide to do something about them now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. The true entrepreneur is a doer, not a dreamer. Nolan Bushnell. Chapter 1. Unveil the hidden, the secrets of human mind. You buy a new 3D TV set, take it home, and start using it. You find that the remote control is completely different from the old one. You try to use it and understand the function of every button in it. You need enough time to know all the features and services that the new device can provide you with, isn't it? Instead of trying to know what this strange device can do, wouldn't it be better for you to read the user's guide for a short period, thus getting familiar with all its features and save your precious time? In the first case, it is like walking in the darkness, stumbling or tripping. Every now and then, you may or may reach your destination. Doing that is merely placing yourself at risk of not arriving safely there, whereas in the second case, you are walking in complete light as you know what you want, where to go and how to move forward. The question now is, what if we have a user's guide to understand the human mind? What if get to know each and every button in this great system? Isn't it easy then to control it? If we know how it thinks and how it makes decisions, isn't it easy then to convince it? Nevertheless, before going any further in studying the secret codes and hundreds of strategies, there is a need to know the main components of the system that we need to control. We need to fully comprehend and understand every piece of information stated here, otherwise, it would be impossible to understand others' minds. I would like you to spend at least 1 week reading this chapter over and over, Injection Theory. You will soon get to know this theory, but meanwhile, let us establish the basics and definitions about the conscious/subconscious. The human mind is composed of two parts, the consciousness and unconsciousness, the conscious and subconscious mind. What is the difference? Let us see. You drive your car going to work almost every morning and return home, using the same road or street every evening. But today, you have an important meeting, and you are still thinking about your presentation in this meeting. Yes, I'll start with this subject, and then I will focus more on details. And suddenly you find yourself arriving at your office without the slightest awareness of the road or the number of traffic lights that you stopped at. How'd this happen? It is the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is thinking, and the subconscious mind is performing all functions of driving. This is exactly what happens in reality. It is the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is thinking, and the subconscious mind is performing all functions of driving. This is exactly what happens in reality. You are reading a book, flipping the pages, and after a while you discover that you forgot what you have already read. You go back to read the page again. Your mind is thinking of a subject, whereas the subconscious mind is trying to read. You are sitting down with your wife as she is talking about thousands of stories, but you did not hear one of her words, although you are nodding your head with a smile when she says something funny. Your mind is thinking of the result of the match that you saw yesterday, and your subconscious mind is trying to listen to your wife. You are watching a movie, and during one of the scenes, you start shedding tears. You are watching a sports match, and suddenly you start screaming of joy at scoring. You are sitting down with someone you love, but you feel as if the place has become empty around you, though the restaurant is crowded and voices are high. You feel as if the world disappears around you, as if you became the moment, the movie, or the game. However, in fact, you are actually inside the movie. You become the game, as if you are the footballer scoring goals and running across the playground. Therefore, the subconscious mind has previous instructions to do a particular thing over and over without referring back to the upper level, consciousness. It is like a machine that knows what to do when it starts up. Each and every one of us has what we might call a computer within us that does exactly what it has been programmed by without the ability to control. Just as in the example of driving a car, when you sit inside the car and start the engine, the inner machine, subconscious, knows what to do. So it will take you to where the conscious mind has decided to go. But wait a minute. Is the consciousness completely losing control or supervision during this process? If it is like so, the human being will become just another object, like animals or plants, whose instincts control their actions. But as a human being, your mind or consciousness still exists, and it is in control, watching, analyzing information, and acting accordingly. But there are limits to this. Yes, this consciousness is limited. The conscious mind can only focus on one thing at a time and no more than that. You will not be able to hear all conversations around you in a restaurant and focus on what is being said. Yes, you can hear all voices and noises around you, but you will not hear, understand, and analyze, but only one piece of information at a time. Example: think of this phone number, 05 to 900 and 972. Put it in your mind now, 05 900 and 972. Repeat it in your head over and over again, 05 to 900 and 972. Have you ever noticed that when you started to think about the number and trying to store it, you stop reading? These are the limits of the conscious. You can't focus on more than one piece of information consisting of 7 digits as a telephone number, for example, at one time. If you are trying to focus on this number and your wife next to you is reading loudly another number, it will be very difficult for you to concentrate on your number. If the conscious mind has to analyze and implement all pieces of information, it will be greatly busy to the extent that it will be unable to do one thing. If you are trying to focus on this number and your wife next to you is reading loudly another number, it will be very difficult for you to concentrate on your number. If the conscious mind has to analyze and implement all pieces of information, it will be greatly busy to the extent that it will be unable to do one thing. The consciousness focuses on things that it wants to focus on. The subconscious executes prior existing instructions to do one particular thing. However, is the truth that simple? Yes, and why not? Do right things need to be complex? Of course, we need to analyze the idea more and more. Who is responsible for determining what we want to focus on? In addition, for the subconscious, we need to find out what are these instructions and guidelines that are stored there. Where do they come from, and who gives the order to start execution? For the consciousness, the engine or the drive regarding the important thing that we need to focus on is different based on our age. An infant has a level of alertness, different from a teenager or an individual in the age of 50, for example. True. You have seen the picture above. It is for a group of friends. Look at it again. Did you notice anything strange? Yes or no? Look one more time and try to concentrate. Have you found anything worth mentioning? Have you noticed that there is no seat or bench? They are sitting in the air. Have you noticed this now? Yes, you see the picture very well now, but why didn't you notice this before? I put the picture without alerting your consciousness to look for the strange or different thing, so you saw the picture without concentrating on it, and kept on reading. Thus, the consciousness cares about things when it is alerted to. Some people may call this technique suggestion technique. When I suggested that there is something strange in the picture, only then your conscious mind began to look for it. Therefore, we can determine the things that our consciousness need to concentrate on at a particular moment through a suggestion. Of course, this is not all. There are 5 senses that convey various pieces of information to us, and since we need to analyze them, our conscious mind will only focus on a particular event, whereas it condones the rest of the events. For example, the person sitting in a restaurant will only focus on the conversation between him/her and the person sitting at the same table. This is what we call consciousness. But what about the subconscious? Scientists say that the subconscious can receive thousands or even millions pieces of information together in a single moment. Surprising, isn't it? Usually, I think of the subconscious as a personal storage, flash memory, where you can store whatever you want of different information, together based on its free space or capacity, which is unlimited. The difference is that the subconscious will use this information later as it has a splendid ability to see the whole picture. However, it works under your consciousness radar. To clarify this point, let us take another example. Look at the picture below. Of course, you'd have prepared your mind from the beginning that you are going to see a picture containing a strange thing, so you run the maximum power of your mental engine to be vigilant. I think the idea becomes clear now. The eye will take this image and sends it to the brain, to both the conscious and subconscious. I mean, the whole picture will be sent to the subconscious, where it will be stored in a special storage unit. Meanwhile, the conscious mind will start analyzing it based on the given instructions or suggestions that it had. In the picture, a handshake. In the conscious mind, it is a picture of a handshake. But the subconscious will send a signal to the conscious mind that this picture indicates something else like cooperation, partnership, and brotherhood of mankind, etc. The analysis will be different for each person according to what has been stored in the subconscious, but more importantly that the whole picture will be stored in the subconscious even if the consciousness saw only part of it. The conscious has a limited ability to act upon all these pieces of information, so is going to classify and prioritize them as being important and less important. In the world of movies, for example, it is well known that the human eye can see 24 pictures per second to make it a motion video. If you place 24 sheets of paper, each containing cartoons, drawings sequentially, and you start moving these papers consecutively in 1 second, the eye will see them as a motion video. This is true, but there is something need to be noted. Let's take an example. Bring 25 identical sheets of the paper, and at the bottom right side, write the numbers from 1 to 24 sequentially. but in the middle, write the number 100. So the first page will be hashtag 1 next to, and then 3, 4, 5. 100, 18, 19, 20, 24. Then move them quickly one after the other. What your conscious mind will see is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 22, 23, 24. Where did page no 100 go? The conscious mind did not see that page because of the speed at which the viewing occurred, faster than the ability of the conscious mind to analyze. The second reason that consciousness predicted logically that the pages will start from 1 then 2. Logically, the numbers in the middle will be 6, 7. It's consecutively. Because the conscious mind has a limited speed to see things, and because it has the ability to anticipate the following and fill in the blanks in advance, though your eyes revise the picture. But your consciousness did not pay attention to it, and the subconscious mind strode it for you. Now go back to the previous sentences. Look for the word received and see if it has been written correctly. No. Also, the word was stored. You did not notice that because your conscious mind has filled in the blanks or spaces and knew that this word is correct and understood it perfectly. If you go back again to the picture, the hand shaking, can you tell me the number of fingers in the picture? Do not leave this page until you fully understand it. These pieces of information are vital to enable us to control a lot of people if we know how to use them. One of the famous soft drink companies knew this feature of the human mind for decades ago. During World War II, the cinema halls in America and Europe used to display war news and messages or letters of the soldiers and combat units in the battlefield. And during the screening of the film, a phrase was displayed for a fraction of a second like, "Are you thirsty? Drink?" the product company name. You cannot see this phrase during the film. It is impossible that your conscious mind has seen it. But as we have previously said that your eyes saw this phrase, send it to your subconscious. Yes, it is true. It is your subconscious. Therefore, it is a hidden message to your subconscious mind. Yes, it is precisely so. This is incredible, and in fact, many people did not believe it until they started seeing international leading companies do this repeatedly in most advertisements. The issue starts to take more credibility. Is it possible that all of these ads are just a coincidence? Moreover, if so, why do those words, hidden messages, already exist? Hidden messages are talking directly to the subconscious. Let us take a great example to illustrate the issue, because we will go in details in a separate chapter later to deal with hidden messages and see how Hollywood and advertising companies could change a lot of human morality and ethics over the past decades by using hidden messages. Look at this ad for the famous American telecommunications company, AT&T. I ask you to focus on the pictures repeatedly. What would you notice? Information purposes only, I have put images together, but they are actually TV ads that contain these images. So what is the common thing in all these images or footage? Hint: look at the last two pictures. Best converge worldwide. Therefore, the purpose of the ad is to indicate that the network coverage in this company is one of the most powerful networks. Now go back to the pictures and notice that they all contain signs of the code signals of the strong cellular network. Did you notice that? Therefore, the company, through this very smart and distinguished ad, managed to talk to the conscious and subconscious mind through a short video to convey the message that its network is one of the best networks anywhere in the world. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. In fact, I wanted to talk about these hidden messages through ads before we finish defining and analyzing the subconscious, so as the picture will be very clear to you about this unlimited storing device that you have inside yourself. From the previous examples, we realized that the subconscious mind is a place for storage, which is quite different from memory. In fact, it works under the radar level of our consciousness. The subconscious has control over human behavior and contains all the memories, images, sights, and sounds that have passed in your life, unnoticed by our consciousness, and even if you do not remember them anymore. Some people have even gone so far as to say that some of the dreams may influence our subconscious as a source of information. Is this true? In fact, I do not know. However, I know that we are facing many dreams that recur in our lives following the same sequence, and I do believe that there is a lot of information in the subconscious that come out through dreams at night. So you go to learn driving, your consciousness level of concentration will be at its peak when driving for the first time, so the images on your right and left are confused, aren't they? Some people cannot even speak or talk about any subject that requires concentration or more thinking during the first period of driving experience. Day after day, concentration starts gradually to become less and less to the point where you feel that you are more comfortable driving and more precise in control of the car, in particular your reaction to an emergency, such as a sudden stoppage. Therefore, the driving experience or learning is loaded in the subconscious over and over until it becomes something you can do with only little consciousness. This is precisely one of the most dangerous pieces of information in the world and humanity history. You can inject the subconscious mind with whatever you want, and you can delete whatever you want whenever you want, not only for your mind, but also to others around you. Have you ever thought that you want to become a married person more than ever before? Do you think, for example, that you cannot talk in front of a group of people, etc.? Now imagine that you can change anything you do not like in your personality by injecting your subconscious mind with whatever you want, just as you injected it with the ability to drive a car. I think you are sitting and thinking now of your negatives, and you feel now some hope that you become stronger and closer to realizing a dream. Yes, you can enjoy a self-confidence that you will feel in a strange way, in fact, day after day by reading this guide. You may not feel it now, but you will feel, so stay here. Nevertheless, is this the only source of information that exists in the subconscious that defines who we are? Of course not. Question. You're in a kitchen, you find something on the ground, and you think for a moment that it is a snake. Some people will flee or run away, and some will try to fight this snake. Let us imagine you have grabbed a stick and beat the snake to kill it. However, you find out it is not a snake, but it is just a piece of rope lying on the floor. You will laugh at this sarcastic situation and say to yourself, "What was I thinking of?" In fact, you were not thinking at all. What you did was merely a reaction, but what made you reacted this way? How do we behave or react in certain situations? Do you know? Definitely, your answer is going to be yes. Wrong. Most people get surprised of themselves in certain situations. A lot of strong men who brag about their strength always escape in a moment of danger instead of confrontation, whereas a lot of women who are afraid of darkness usually face danger rather than escape, though if you asked her in the normal case, for example, if she is attacked by a lion in the jungle, what would you do? She is certainly going to say without thinking, run away at full speed. However, in reality, women usually will confront this danger when happened. So, what determines these qualities? We mentioned in the past that there are several sources to form a personal inventory of our subconscious, but there are other drives carried by all humans, called human instincts. These instincts or drives are the basis for structuring subconscious and formation of our personalities once we were born. In order to control any human mind or even try to do so, you have to know what is the basic structure of his/her mind that makes his/her character. Human instincts, human drives. Human instincts or drives are divided into two types. 1. Basic. 2. Secondary. Every human being on Earth has these instincts. Let us take a quick look at them. Basic instincts. The desire for safety and security. All creatures are looking for safety and security in a place where they feel reassured. We look for security and safety to survive, and without it we remain in a situation that is considered by the subconscious as being abnormal and temporary, internal imbalance, such as people living in countries where security is loose or they have wars. You will find their subconscious mind in an unstable state, completely affecting their personal actions to the extent that it will be difficult for them to be productive or creative in their lives. They're just looking to satisfy their basic instincts. Therefore, the subconscious is always looking for security. How can you use this instinct in sales? For example, you sell cars. What is the risk to the client if he/she does not buy a new car now from your showroom? By driving his/her old car, he/she will be endangering his/her life as well as the lives of his/her family and children, since the likelihood to suddenly break down is becoming greater, which can lead to a disastrous situation. The question now to the customer: what is more important to you, sir/madam, money or family? By saying that, you already put the client in the face of his instincts, namely the instinct of security and peace of mind. What do you think his/her subconscious is going to choose? Desire for food. All human beings need food and drink to survive. The subconscious has this internal drive to search for food to satisfy this desire. At the beginning of human life on Earth, it was his main concern to look for food to feed his family. In fact, this desire has never changed. It is true that you are working hard throughout the day to achieve your dreams, but the basic instinct in this business is to bring food to your table, and without working. Simply no food on your table. Therefore, your subconscious wants always to satisfy this instinct, and that is why it drives you to work hard to secure this need. Did you know that the most successful deals throughout history have been agreed upon during lunch or dinner? Try it yourself. Try to hold your most important meetings during lunch, and notice the result. Notice the change that occurs on the thinking of your customers if the meeting is taken place in a conference room or in a restaurant during dinner. Did you know that the top 10 successful projects in the world are to provide food and drink services as a restaurant or cafe? You have a lot of examples of fast food giant companies. It is an instinct that we do not, and will not stop looking for to satisfy in every persuasion process in selling or even in our conversations with others. The desire for reproduction, sex. This is one of the most serious desires ever in human history. Hundreds or even thousands of giant companies will not stop using sex and refer to it in their ads and sales. Why? Because sex has become the main drive for most of our behaviors in life. How did it become like so? We will not talk about it now, as we will address this issue in details in a separate chapter, when we talk about the hidden messages in advertising and how the West and its media were able to turn generations of people into consumers who are looking for to satisfy this instinct by all means. Genes in all of us want to multiply and reproduce. These genes, which form our personalities and specifically our subconscious, do not think. They just want to multiply. Men have the desire to distribute their genes, and women have the desire to get a large number of children. Thus, we in the end all are looking by any means to satisfy the desire of these genes. This desire is no different from our desires for food or safety and stability. How do we instill in the minds of consumers that our products will provide them with the best way to satisfy this desire? Let us imagine that you are working in the field of real estate. How are you going to satisfy this instinct of your customer? Finally, buying this house will enable you to find stability. For women, stability means to get married and have children to satisfy this desire. Therefore, we have three basic instincts and drives that control our subconscious and constitute the primary source of our actions. Please, not move to the next subject until you can find examples of linking your products with these instincts. Let us now review the secondary desires that form our subconscious. Secondary desires, the desire to compete. In the subconscious, there is an absolute desire of competition. We are always looking for to exist within a group, and within the group, we are looking for excellence. There are always those who are looking for excellence and competition, and those who are only looking to survive and to keep away from any competition. You could be a fan of competition at work, but with your family or friends, you're just looking to survive and keep away from it. Think of your character. Do you classify yourself as a fan of competition or not? Remember some of the situations that you kept yourself away from competition. If you do not find such situations, you are at the other end. You now have a client who is a fan of competition. How would you like to talk to this person focused on comparing him/her with others? After all the fuss and toil, don't you deserve to get what you want? Are not you the best of them all? I know you always want the best, etc. How will you satisfy their desires in their search for competition to get your products or services? Write 3 points now. Think about them, because you are going to use them tomorrow morning. The desire for making a family and having children. Many psychologists and experts consider this instinct belonging to the feeling of stability. Others look at it as belonging to the desire of reproduction. The truth is this, and that at the same time. Strangely, sex in ancient times was mainly for reproduction, rather than for fun or enjoyment. However, the world has changed now that sex in itself has become more of a physical and psychological process that becomes a life goal for many people far away from the reproduction or having children. Therefore, we have to differentiate between the desire to obtain or satisfy our sexual desire and our desire for stability, having children, and making a family. Surprisingly, men and women fully share each other to pursue this desire, though there is a false but common belief that women are looking for having children and making a family more than men. But as I said, a lot of men have this desire with the same driving force as they are in women. Therefore, there are two kinds of people. Having children or making a family is a key drive for happiness. Having children or making a family is a secondary drive. So you have to know your customer and find out, is this person of the type that having children and making a family is considered a basic drive to him/her? The desire to communicate with others. In one of the movies titled Crash, one of the characters was saying that for people to realize that they exist in this world, they always need to be touched by other people. The subconscious has the desire to exist within communities and cities, even if you do not speak or talk to anyone but you feel that you exist. However, some do not have this motivation or drive. There are many people who are looking for calmness, tranquility, and going out to a place that provides him slasher with loneliness. Who are you? Who is your customer? Who is your spouse? Who is your friend? Although many studies have proved conclusively that people who have a lot of social relationships are healthier, consider themselves to be happier and recover from illness faster than others. The desire to have power. What is power? Power is to reach a certain niche where it enables us to influence others. Are you always looking for power? Do you want to become a manager of the office that you work in? Or do you think you're better off if you just carry out orders and live in peace? Neither this nor that is bad or good, but we are of two types: seekers for power and seekers for dependency. The desire to have power and be at the top of the social ladder is what drives many people, especially men. You can see it clearly in the multi-millionaires who are sowing millions of dollars a year in order to get a job in the government with even low salary. So it is not money that drives, rather it's the prestige and power that they will acquire through this job. These days, what is the strong power that affects millions of people every day? Think for a moment. Yes, it is true, the media. Isn't it true that the media nowadays is the main source of news about the world? It is where people can become famous and celebrity. We're going to believe the media in most cases, regardless of any other reasons. Therefore, media is authority and we follow it when we agree to everything they say. Surprisingly, this instinct is not an absolute truth. In reality, I'm not totally a follower to everything. You may be a follower at work, but at home, you have the power and control. You may be the ruler of a certain area of influence and authority, but you are a follower to your superior in the government. However, the desire exists. The preacher wants everyone to listen to his message. The writer wants to convince readers of his ideas. Put forward, the policeman is looking to reinforce the law in his area. We want more and more as our subconscious is insatiable. It is greedy, we are greedy, we want more money, and we want beautiful wives, bigger houses, and better jobs. This desire is deadly and serious when people are obsessed by it. In the end, most of the wars that have led to the death of millions of people and destroyed civilizations and nations is in the first place only a search operation carried out by a particular country or a person to gain more power or influence. Therefore, you will see that seekers for power and who possess this instinct are greedy to some extent in everything. How to convince people looking for power in buying a product you are selling? How to satisfy his slasher desire through your product? The desire to be in love. Our lives as human beings revolve in an exhausting and painstaking search for love. Our subconscious is set up and programmed in such a way that makes us as individuals look as distinguished people in the heart of another person, to influence the life of one of them, to be loved by your wife, your father, your friend, your boss. There is a huge amount of stories about love since the beginning of humanity until the day of judgment. Can you satisfy this desire for a friend so that you convince him slasher to refrain from smoking? The desire for independency. Certainly, we are looking to be within a group, but we are looking for autonomy inside it, to have our own house, to close the door on ourselves in the office, looking for personal freedom always. Are you looking for independent thinking to do whatever you want to? Or you don't, for example, care much about living with your parents in the age of 30? Who are you and who is your customer? And how are you going to satisfy this desire when talking about your products? The desire for curiosity. We can define the sales in 2 words: ask questions. Yes, keep that in mind wherever you are. These 2 words are the magic code for success, not only in making relations, but also in sales. Ask questions. We do not know the answer that we are about to hear, we rather think about it. We imagine the answer through our knowledge of the person, whom we anticipate that his slasher answer will be so if we ask him slasher, but we really do not know for sure. It is just imagining or guessing. There are 4 things we have long been curious to know their answers. We want to know how things are made and why. We want to know the forms these things have taken. We want to know about the beginning and the cause of things and events. We want to know about the goals of the existence of these things. We have the desire to know everything about anything. There are 2 types of people: the curious who consider themselves very smart because they do not accept to take things as they are and others living simple life and learn through experience only, Each type considers the other type as being boring, so the only way to avoid boredom is asking questions. It is impossible to ask a question that is not answered. Even if you do not verbally answer it, your consciousness will answer internally, won't it? Yes, your mind has answered the question and said yes. Fantastic. And we'll talk more about questions and how to use them in persuasion later. The desire for social acceptance. There are those looking for social acceptance and go with the flow. Their lives are considered less complex. They are preferred for people who are looking for power. On the contrary, there are those who are always looking for excellence beyond what is common, even if they lose the general acceptance of community. They do not listen to the opinion of the group and consider themselves distinct. After you have directed some questions intelligently to your customer and found that he/she is one who goes with the flow, how would you like to talk to him/her about the services offered by your company? The desire for altruism. There are some of us who prefer to favor his/her interests over others. Some will call this person as being selfish, and there are those who favor the wishes and desires of others over his own. As humans, we in fact combine the two characters with a marginal disparity between us. Some are dominated by the preference of the interests of others over his interests and vice versa. But we all share that we have a deep desire in the subconscious in favoring our interests or the interests of others. The desire to abide by the law. Yes, we as human beings are looking to be neat, tidy, and well organized, to follow the law to acquire that feeling of reassurance. Therefore, you see people living in countries at wars or lose security. They live confused, and it is difficult for them to be creative or productive. Not only that, but we as human beings tend to look for organizing things and put them in a logical context. We are aware that if we saw a semi-circle or full circle, it does not matter as the subconscious will complete it, as a picture of a circle, and so on. Of course, there are those who always showed a willingness to break the law, be chaotic, and act randomly in various affairs. So how would you ask your well-organized husband to take you on a trip to Paris this summer? What is the key points that are you going to focus on? The desire for saving. Are you one who lives the moment? Do you have several credit cards that you have not and will never be able to pay their monthly installments? Or are you one of those who thinks before buying anything that he/she does not need much now? The irony is that those ones who save money are the ones who always see themselves as clever and well prepared for the future and see others wasteful and extravagant, and vice versa. Those who squander their money just for having fun and enjoy the current moment of their lives consider others as being deprived of the pleasure of life. So who are you and who is your customer? If we carefully look at the basic and secondary human instincts that we were born with and that control our personalities, we will find that we all share the basic instincts and drives, but we differ from each other in the secondary drives. You will find somebody who is curious, another one who likes power, and so on, but in persuasion, we must know who is the person we are talking to know his/her way of thinking. How does his/her subconscious work to make a decision and say to you, yes, I want to buy. Yes, I want to go with you on a trip. Yes, I love you, etc. Do not worry about the huge amount of information. We are here to work gradually building up your subconscious to establish the basics in the world of change for the best, for the extraordinary ability to change, and then the exceptional ability to change the others. You should read this chapter over and over again. Talk to yourself about every piece of information you read. Follow the way, which is in fact one of the best ways to inject to your subconscious with unlimited information to be instilled as if they are internal instincts. Talk to yourself. There is a whole chapter on this later. Imagine yourself as a lecturer, and there are hundreds of people in the hall and you want to talk to them about consciousness and subconscious, the human instincts and drives. Start your lecture with what you remember of information that you have learned here. Speak loudly and explain to them in your own words what you have learned here. Do this for 1 week only. Certainly during this week you have to promise me that you will be a wonderful lecturer. You will imagine the audience at their highest level of concentration. Imagine their smiles. Imagine someone nodding his head in agreement and surprised at what you say. You're gorgeous. Imagine how strongly you stand on the stage with confidence, how you are moving quietly. How are you using your hands? I want you to live and feel this moment completely. Imagine someone asks you a question about something you have just said. Now we know the structure of the subconscious and how information accumulates, but what regulates this information and how does the subconscious work in reality? There are laws governing the subconscious, and before we finish, we have to know everything about them. until we can later establish the techniques and strategies based on the laws and the formation of the subconscious. Subconscious laws. Frank Odlu said, "Observe your thoughts because they will become actions. Observe your actions because they will become habits. Observe your habits because they will become your nature. Observe your nature because it will determine your destiny." Law of attraction. Birds of a feather flock together. I have frequently liked this saying, and it is certainly true. Most people got attracted to each other as they share same interests and lifestyles. It is through this law that governs our subconscious that makes us attracted to the same kind of energy that we carry. If you are a positive person always thinking positively, you will find that you are surrounded by people that are more positive. On the contrary, if you are a person looking for the negative and melancholy in life, you will find yourself among people with the same energy. Even more than that, if you are a positive person surrounded by negative, it is impossible for you to remain as you are, or for them to remain as they are in the same state of mind. Consequently, either you will turn out to be the most negative person, or you will influence them in such a way that they will get closer to being positive. This is called the law of attraction. Now you have to ask yourself, who are around you? Sit down and think a little bit about those people around you. Are they passive, disappointed, or frustrating? Or are they ambitious who have big ambitions and bigger dreams? You will be determined by this law if you will succeed or not in your life through the knowledge of those around you from your friends or even your family. Make up your mind now, you will become one of the most positive people in the world, and this is not a dream, but it is reality. It is through these pages, and by the end of this guide, you will be turning into superheroes with unlimited ambitions and dreams and experts in the world of persuasion. But you have to help me and help yourself in the beginning, and so stay away at this first stage from negative people, so as to succeed and become a positive person who can later influence those around him. Therefore, leave any person that you feel he is one of those negative thinking people, avoid him, and try not to get in touch with him very much. Do not be afraid, you will come back to him to change his life completely later. Now think about yourself. It is either you all get drowned together, or you stay away for a little while from their ship to know how to fix the defects so as to save all. You're wonderful. We will build humanity, and we will be remembered in history. This will not happen without training. Law of reflection. The kind word and sincere courtesy are the best gift to any human being, and it is impossible for an ordinary person to pay back for a kind act with an opposite one. Forget those who say that people in our world are becoming monsters who bite the hand that was kind to them. Why? Yes, it is true. I have thousands of experiences with many people whom I was so kind to them, but they pay back otherwise. In fact, the reward for good is only good, otherwise one will feel that there is something wrong. She will feel internally that she made a mistake and he has to do something in return. Apostles, messengers of Allah, preachers, and reformers have used this method and excelled in it over the centuries. They have been rejected, attacked, traumatized, and some of them were killed, although they did not ask for any money or services, but they were looking to find happiness for others by believing their message to people. Their method succeeded. Look at the world now. Millions of people follow divine religions for thousands of years. Isn't this a success for the messenger who was punished and harmed in the beginning, and was paid back for his kindness very badly by his people? Think for a moment. We also often hear about the psychiatrist reformers who visited prisons, were criminals and outlaws. How can they begin to speak to them? Based on this law, and if you are now in this position, how would deal with one of the criminals? It is through the good deeds or being kind to them, isn't it? Internally and deeply into the human subconscious, this kindness is appreciated and will be similarly paid back, if not this time, on another occasion. When your friend gives you a present, do not you feel that it is imperative that you need to repay his gift by giving him a present of almost the same value, if not more? Therefore, you determine how to deal with people around you. Law of focus. What you focus on, you will get. What you focus upon, either by thinking or talking, will affect on how you see things and even on your own judgments. We find this clearly with some people who are in a state of misery or passiveness. They see things around them in a negative perspective. Sometimes you sit down with one of your friends who is in a state of unhappiness or sadness. You will find that most of his talking is about miserable or sad negative things, and moreover you will find that she explains things in a negative way even. If it occurred by chance, she thinks that her whole life is a misery. What you focus on, you will get. Let us consider misery, for example, as black sunglasses. If you wear these sunglasses, you will certainly see all things as black, and on the contrary, happiness is like the medical glasses, where things you see are clear. So it is your choice. What would you choose? What are you going to provide to your customer, your wife, your children, or your friends? Law of expectation. This law is greatly similar to the previous one, the law of focus. It is through the law of expectation that our subconscious is working on programming thinking to anticipate things. You expect that you will fail in the next exam, you go for the exam with this negative expectation, and you really fail. You go back home fully convinced that you are a failure, that you do not like that subject, for example mathematics, so this will become a solid belief. 5th law. It is through your unreal expectations in most cases, which rely heavily and seriously at the same time on yourself. Confidence. You are actually programming your conscious and subconscious on the result. Therefore, your body and your tongue will act based on this expectation. So you'll find yourself in the exam looking for reasons to prove your expectations. Yes, this happens at the subconscious level. Your consciousness will not be deeply thinking about the result because you actually expected that the questions will be tough. So how will you change your expectations or the expectations of your customers? In the field of sales, we are facing a big problem as most customers expect that you are an annoying, talkative person trying in magical ways to take their money by convincing them to buy something they do not actually need. Most people have this perception of a salesman or a sales representative. To go to a meeting and you have a client that expects you will be wasting his time, and you on the other hand expect that he/she is not the appropriate client, and you will fail to persuade him/her. How are you going to change your expectations and the expectation of your customers? Give yourself time to think about. You will change the expectations of others about you and your products. Law of belief. You focus, you expect, and thing happens. This is repeated. You believe. The event or what you expected turns into a belief. Let's say that I am shy. Whenever I speak to a group of people, I feel very shy, and I cannot find the right words at the right time. I do not know why my body starts, severe sweating, and my face reddens to an extent I find it difficult to breathe. Yes, that is exactly what happened to you in the first time. And then after going back home, you do not have that difficulty talking to your spouse or to one of your friends. However, remember that your friends are not the only ones that listen to you. There is something inside you, recording and storing things. Yes, it is true. It is your subconscious. Next day, you go to talk to people, but you find yourself in the same situation, and then the issue became a belief. I am shy. I cannot talk in front of others freely and smoothly. Your subconscious believes it now, and your mind, which controls your body, acts through this belief. We find this problem in marital relations is very clear and obvious. It is in fact the most serious problems facing our world now. Seriously. The wedding night or the first time that you are going to make love with your wife, and of course, the theory applies to men and women. You will find many people fail to complete this experience satisfactorily to both parties. We are not talking here about any medical special condition for either one of them. We are talking about natural persons in full health and wellness. But he goes with an internal expectation that something wrong is going to happen, and that he will fail in the completion of this experience as required, and she is afraid and expects that she is insufficient for him. It starts with a negative expectation for sure, focus on the subject. Failure is inevitable, hence the belief. The problem goes back to what is required from this experience. When you begin this experience, what do you expect to get? What do you expect to give to the other side? Unfortunately, most of the experiences we have on this subject is from porn movies that have established laws and unreal attributes for men and women during this relationship and this experience. Therefore, the man wants to be like those people in the movies. He wants to exercise this experiment for hours without a stop. Hence, women got affected too, and they believe that her man should be so. In addition, she believes that she likes to be like those actresses so that she can exercise that experience for hours. During this experience, both parties get surprised. When this did not happen to them, he was not able to achieve what he saw, and neither was she. Thus begins the dangerous and deadly journey which will eliminate the natural relationship someday, and that because of doubt that will be generated by the two sides, that a life partner would look for another partner to satisfy his instincts and vice versa. Thus, it will destroy the entire marital relationships. You expect, you focus, you believe. Now stop watching those movies. Those movies do not reflect reality. And sexual relationship is never like that. Sure, of course, you have to learn more to satisfy the desires of your wife or your husband. In order to provide your spouse with real gratification or satisfaction of her sexual desires, you have to learn how to develop your sexual abilities, but not through those movies ever. These films are not a reliable source of information in this aspect at all. So I will take this opportunity to give a piece of advice to everyone to stop watching these movies and try to apply the methods used on real life. Stop watching these movies, not only for religious reason, despite its importance, but because they're danger to the cognitive system we have about sexual relations. And we'll talk later in a separate chapter about some of the methods that enhance our real sexual abilities that will make them supernatural. Yes, and I mean this word supernatural, but not through what companies offer in the market of medicines that will destroy your life if there is no real medical need for them. We will talk more about this belief that might lead you to become a medical case, which could lead to incompetence if you do not stop thinking about now. You are gorgeous. You are the most exciting man for your wife. You are the most charming and attractive woman for your husband. Moreover, you see the complete gratification of desire in the eyes of your wife. Therefore, it is the expectation, focus, and belief. You will control whatever your mind is going to believe. Record whatever you want now. Tonight, I will record in my subconscious mind that I am the most wonderful person ever. All around me like to be with me and talk to me, because I am unique and interesting. I am really the most impressive at all. Trust me, and inject to your subconscious mind with what you want to become and make commands positive. Law of accumulation and habits. The subconscious mind works in a manner of accumulation. Any belief within your subconscious is a result of accumulation repeatedly. Repeat things more than once. They will become a habit. Try it now. You always wake up late like me. Now try to change that tomorrow. I wake up an hour before. Try to ask your wife to awaken any way. Do not despair did not work the first time. This is normal, but you will certainly succeed in the following times. You'll wake up an hour before your usual appointment. Do it for a week and try it for another week. You wake up at 6 o'clock every morning. In the third week, I do not think that you need an alarm now. Accumulation is the law that governs the subconscious to stabilize beliefs and information obtained. Accumulation occurs through speech, discussion, talking to yourself, seeing and hearing things, etc. Law of replacement. To change the information in the tape inside the subconscious, you have to replace this piece of information with another one, as there is no tool for deletion. You are shy. You have this piece of information and you will not be able to get rid and erase it except by replacing it. I am a social person. Notice we did not say, I'm not shy. And we'll talk about this word in details. I'm not. Your subconscious will interpret of what you said, I am not shy. It has to know what is the meaning of shy. So on the main screen in your subconscious, there is the word, shy, I'm not so. The subconscious does not understand the negative sentences, no, not, I'm not, do not smoke, do not be late for home, beware of reckless driving. The subconscious will understand these sentences as reckless driving, smoking, be late from home. The opposite of I am shy is I'm social, I am a great and capable speaker, therefore, let us change all the negatives to erase those destructive habits that we carry within ourselves and to turn to successful people who govern the world by their supernatural abilities. At the end of this chapter, it must be emphasized that you have to read these pages repeatedly until concepts and laws contained in this chapter are strongly instilled in your mind, because everything we are going to do in this unique experience that will change your life depends on these concepts and laws. Make them your beliefs inside you and think about them. Explain them to yourself in your own voice with your own words. Tell them to your friends and family. Talk about the laws, beliefs, and sources of information that govern your subconscious mind. Do this now, for a week. Read these pages every night before going to sleep for half an hour, no more. Be assured that your life will change. You need this change to be able to apply the subsequent laws on other people. If you cannot control your own mind, how are you going to control others? I want you to read these pages for the last time the weekend, and notice the words that you spoke out. Where did you use the previous laws and how? How did you place some of the information you have in your subconscious? Have you started to notice? Fantastic. You have now begun to control the main wires. All humans have what you have. Everyone doomed by these laws, so this was a very important chapter in the beginning, so as we know exactly what an opponent who we are going to make him slash at work in our favor and in favor of others. Is the opponent present in us or in others?